MASH was one of the most popular sitcoms in the history of TV. It ran from 1972 to 1983, putting it in the rare group of series that last for more than a decade. The final episode was a record-setting event, with more than 105 million people tuning in. Since it's been nearly 40 years since the finale aired, there aren't many MASH actors who are still alive. In this video, we're going to take a look at the few remaining actors from the show and what they've been up to. Odessa Cleveland. Odessa Cleveland played Ginger Bayless from 1972 to 75. She was one of the MASH nurses most frequently featured in the first few seasons. She also guest starred on an episode of Trapper John MD, one of the spin-off series that followed MASH, in 1986. Nurse Bayless was one of the few black actors who had a recurring part on the show. Her character was a focal point in the second season episode Dear Dad 3, when she was forced to treat an angry, racist patient. Jeff Maxwell. Jeff Maxwell played Igor Straminsky throughout the series' run. He never became a series regular, but his character appeared here and there for 10 years. Many of his appearances in the early seasons went uncredited, but as time went by, his part became more important. These days, he hosts a podcast called MASH Matters. On the show, he discusses MASH and the film and TV industry in general with his co-host, Ryan Patrick. George Morgan. George Morgan isn't very recognizable from his time on MASH. He played the role of Father Mulcahy in the pilot episode, but a new actor, William Christopher, took over the role from that point on. Unfortunately, Morgan's acting career didn't go very far after he was replaced. He's only had 3 professional acting roles since then, according to IMDb. Morgan is hardly the only sitcom actor who lost a role after the pilot. His MASH co-star Loretta Swit was originally cast as Cagney in the CBS series Cagney and Lacey. Her contractual obligations for the final season of MASH forced her to give up the role. Other prominent examples are Lee Garlington, who was originally cast as Elaine Bennis on Seinfeld, and Amanda Walsh, who preceded Kaylee Cuoco as the female lead on The Big Bang Theory. Mike Farrell. Mike Farrell played Captain B.J. Honeycutt on MASH. He joined the show in Season 4 as a replacement for Wayne Rogers' character, Trapper John. Farrell's wife at the time, Judy Farrell, also appeared on MASH in the role of Nurse Abel. More recently, Mike Farrell has appeared on popular drama series like NCIS and American Crime Story, The Assassination of Gianni Versace. Gary Burghoff. Gary Burghoff played the fan-favorite character Walter Radar O'Reilly for the first 8 seasons. He was the youngest of the show's main characters and is only 78 years old today. Burghoff is notable for being the only actor from the 1970 movie MASH to reprise his role on the TV series. He left the cast in 1979 but returned later the same year for a 2-part special episode called Goodbye Radar. Jamie Farr. Jamie Farr played Corporal Maxwell Q. Klinger for all 11 seasons, but it was only a recurring role for the first 3. He was promoted to a series regular in the 4th season. At 87 years old, Farr is the oldest remaining cast member from the show. Before landing his role on MASH, Farr actually served in Korea with the U.S. Army. According to an article he wrote for the U.S. Naval Institute, Farr wore his real dog tags on the show. Loretta Swit. Loretta Swit played Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, the only female in the main cast of MASH. She guest starred on several popular series in the early 70s, including Hawaii Five-0, Gunsmoke, and Mission Impossible. But it was her role on MASH that made her a household name. Her performance on the show was critically acclaimed, and she was nominated for 10 Emmys over the show's run, winning 2. Swit has mostly retired from acting, having only one acting role since the 90s, according to IMDb. Alan Alda. Alan Alda played Captain Benjamin Franklin Hawkeye Pierce for the full 11 seasons. He was the only actor who appeared in all 256 episodes of the show. Over the show's run, he won 5 Emmy Awards and remains a well-known, successful actor today. His most recent work was a recurring role on the TV series Ray Donovan and a supporting role in the Oscar-nominated film A Marriage Story. In the years since the show went off the air, the surviving cast members have reunited on a few occasions. In 2018, more than 35 years after the award-winning final episode, Jamie Farr and Loretta Swit came together as presenters at the Daytime Emmy Awards. They were 2 of only 4 characters on the show for its full 11-season run. A more complete reunion happened the next year when Swit, Burghoff, Farrell, and Farr all appeared on Alan Alda's podcast Clear and Vivid. Fans of the show have been rewatching, reading about, and dissecting MASH for decades, so you'd think everything that could be said has been. But it seems that's not the case. When the cast got together for Alda's podcast, the stories started to spill. The podcast conversation is a must-listen for anyone who's a fan of the show. You can immediately hear the chemistry between the old friends and colleagues. The actors were spread out across the country and came together by video chat and telephone. But as Alda says in the introduction, the kidding and laughing began as soon as they heard one another's voices. The surviving cast treats listeners to some favorite behind-the-scenes stories, as well as some fascinating, never-before-shared details. They recalled the stark filming conditions on the Fox lot and the mountain filming location. For instance, the ventilation was poor in Colonel Potter's office set, to the point that Gary Burghoff started to suffer from a lack of oxygen. And there was no telephone access in the field, which resulted in Alda reading a strange line from the script with a typo. It was a full 6 years before there was even a bathroom available on stage, and Swit recalled that McLean Stevenson had so many ants in his dressing room, one of his boots was moving. They talked about how they had to pay for their own coffee and peanut butter during the early run of the series. Farr tells a story of the cast going to then-president of 20th Century Fox Television, Cy Salkowitz, and each slapping a $100 bill on his desk to demand more peanut butter. After asking if they wanted smooth or crunchy, Salkowitz arranged for a pallet of peanut butter to be delivered the next day. They had so much it reached from the floor to the ceiling. Farr also talks about the origin of several of the memorable dresses he wore on the show. One was a gold lame outfit once worn by none other than Ginger Rogers. According to Farr, Rogers caught him in the commissary one day saying, "That dress looked a hell of a lot better on you than it did on me." They also reminisced about pranks they played, including one from David Ogden Stiers involving frozen yogurt and Sir Richard Attenborough. Burghoff shared the history of Radar's first name, Walter. It was in tribute to one of his childhood friends. The real Walter has since passed away, but Burghoff remains in touch with his brother to this day. Whether you're a casual fan of MASH or you know everything there is to know about the show, you'll likely hear a few news stories in the podcast. They also talk about some of the things that have changed with working on modern TV shows compared to the methods used in the days of MASH. And hearing those familiar voices after all these years is pretty heartwarming. Now it's time to hear from you. Who was your favorite MASH character? Let us know in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.